Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Goffstown Today, the local public affairs program that's being brought to you by the Goffstown Democratic Committee. Our goal in these sessions is to provide some meaningful discussions of local and state issues important to the greater Goffstown community. Throughout this election season, we've been highlighting the many issues of importance to Goffstown and to New Hampshire voters in general in this election. Our guest today is candidate Suzanne Ketteridge, the Democratic candidate for Hillsborough County Commissioner. She is running against a Republican incumbent, Robert Rowe. Ms. Ketteridge is an attorney who lives in Amherst and believes her unique background in criminal law and business make her uniquely qualified for the position. She holds a master's degree in business from Riviera University and a law degree from the New Hampshire School of Law, and has worked as both a public defender and an assistant attorney general in consumer protection. The three-member board of county commissioners is responsible for the administrations of the function of county government, including the custody and care of all county property and real estate, and overall supervision of the Department of Corrections, the nursing home, public assistance, human resources, and various other departments. With that, let's get started. Welcome, Ms. Ketteridge. And one of the things I'd like, if you could tell us a little bit about county government in general, which is generally the kind of invisible part of government in New Hampshire. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. Well, county government is something that I've recently learned a lot about in deciding to run for this office. The county government is basically the three county commissioners who are the executive branch of county government. And then you have the legislative body. So the legislative body consists of the delegation from Hillsborough County, and they in turn elect an executive committee. So the three commissioners submit the budget for the county departments to the executive committee, and they approve it or don't approve it or adjust it and then it goes back to the county commissioners, and they're responsible for budgetary oversight of all of the departments that you mentioned. They're also directly responsible for the administration of the Department of Corrections and the nursing home are the two largest. They have budgetary oversight of the county attorney's office and the sheriff's department. Those are elected offices, and the register of deeds. So each month, the county commissioners meet, and the elected officials and the head of the county agencies attend these meetings and report. They report on the budget, they report on personnel issues, they bring issues to the commissioners, and the commissioners in turn will bring things back to the delegation if it involves any sort of amount over a set amount. They are the invisible people behind the scenes. So I decided to run because a little bit about me first. As you said, I have a master's in business administration from Riviera University. I worked for a manufacturing company in Milford, New Hampshire. I worked my way up to chief operating officer. We had over 100 employees and a multi-million-dollar budget. Our customer base were Fortune 500 companies across the country, like Hershey Chocolate, for instance, and General Foods. So I was vice president of sales and marketing for many years, traveled a great deal in that position, and then became COO. As I said, we had over 100 employees, so I was responsible for major budgetary issues in good times, good economic times and bad economic times, and having to make decisions, personnel decisions, and other decisions that go along with running a company of that size. When we sold the company, I turned down an opportunity to stay on as COO. It would have been a regional office in order to go to law school because I wanted to practice public interest law. I had not had the time raising a family and working that type of a career to get involved with my local community, although I did serve as the vice president of the Nashua Soup Kitchen and Homeless Shelter while I was working at the company. I went to law school to practice public interest law. And as you said, I have practiced in the New Hampshire Public Defender's Office. I just left the Manchester office about 6 weeks ago to run for this office. I've also worked at the Attorney General's office in the Consumer Protection Division. So I'm very familiar with the issues from both sides of the aisle, both the prosecution side and the defense side. And I'm very familiar with the Department of Corrections. 6 of my years practicing have been in Hillsborough County, in Hillsborough South, the Nashua office, and in Hillsborough North, the Manchester office. I've represented probably close to 1,000 people that have gone through the criminal justice system in Hillsborough County. So I think I have a pretty good idea of the challenges that are the Department of Corrections, the Sheriff's Department, and the county attorneys face. I'm known for working across the aisle. You have to do that as a public defender. In fact, many of the assistant county attorneys were encouraged that I was running because they knew that I would address their budgetary needs in a way, knowing with familiarity of the issues that they're facing. It's kind of a long-winded answer. Not sure if you want to jump in and ask a particular question.
Well, I'm going to pose to you what I've done with several state candidates with the departments that you'd be overseeing as a county commissioner. How important is COVID going to be in our 2021 budgetary picture, particularly as it affects the nursing home?
Well, that's an excellent question. I think the nursing home, but judging from the input that I've relied on is the input from the meetings, the commissioner meetings. I've read all the minutes. That's the insight that I've gotten. The Hillsborough County nursing home seems to be managed quite well. COVID affected personnel, as you can imagine, and budgetary issues as well. But it seems like they're on track with some of the grants that they're getting from the federal government and from the state government addressing COVID directly. The county attorney's office had an at-home, as most other county offices did. They are now back to and it affected them tremendously with their caseloads, not being able to be in the courtroom. Courts are starting to open up now. So we're seeing everybody going back to court, albeit very limited. Grand juries have just started again. I think that the budgetary issues that we'll be facing, we do not know the extent that they'll be yet. I think that the budget for 21 has already been set. But again, that was set prior to COVID. So COVID is going to be an effect that we won't know until we're a little bit further into the process. But I think the fact that I've been through this in the private sector, I have an understanding of how this works and how to reallocate resources. But I think that's going to be an issue. Nursing home safety is an issue, making sure everyone has the correct PPE and the funding that they need to keep the workplace safe is going to be critical. And I think that will be addressed in the budget.
How about other departments that the commissioners supervise? Do you see any important issues with, say, corrections or the various other departments that you supervise?
I have a particular focus, as you can well imagine, on the Department of Corrections. That they do have the commissioners do have direct responsibility over the Department of Corrections, and Hillsborough County is the biggest county in the state, and our criminal system has the most people going through it because of our size. And I think that our Department of Corrections has somewhat of a notorious reputation if you're in the criminal justice system at all. The Valley Street Jail is known throughout most of New Hampshire. There are a lot of things that could be done in our Department of Corrections to reduce recidivism, which I don't think that we're doing. And I've seen it firsthand. And I've looked at other counties in the state that are much smaller to see what programs they have. And I understand that the issue primarily is always the county budget. However, I really firmly believe that you pay for something in the end if you don't pay for it in the beginning. And the criminal justice system is one of the things that I believe we could reduce the cost if we could increase the programs that would reduce recidivism. There are a lot of different things that we could do. The court has expressed some concern that we don't have certain programs that other counties have, which give them more information regarding when they can safely release someone. Public safety is always the number one issue, as it should be. But we don't have a robust pretrial service program in this county, which is a little bit surprising. And what pretrial services is when people are arrested, if they can't afford bail, the court needs to understand and needs the information regarding that defendant's background and supervision in the community while they're awaiting trial if they're going to be released. A pretrial service program keeps these people, the people out of the jail until they're ready to go to trial. And it provides supervision, drug testing. They have to go to programs that are required by pretrial services. The pretrial service folks report to the court if there are any sort of issues that arise, if they've missed meetings. They keep the court abreast of current addresses. That's something that we could save money on in the end if we can keep people out awaiting their trial. We could have them supervised by pretrial services. Other counties have this program. When I first started practicing, it was in Merrimack County, and it was a very effective program, keeping people out of the jails until the time came for their trials. It was very effective. There's a cost associated with it, but there's a cost associated with incarceration as well. As far in the criminal justice system as well, we don't have a felony diversion program in this county. Again, the largest county. And felony diversion is first-time offenders, not violent offenders, not people charged with violent crimes, but mostly people charged with drug issues, drug problems. If they don't have a record, can go through a diversion process where they pay for this. I think Merrimack County's budget shows the amount of income that they have from that program. And I'm trying to find the number here. They have to do community service hours. They have to pay to be in the program. They have to get drug tested regularly. And if they follow all the recommendations, they're kept out of the criminal justice system. They're not incarcerated. And they don't have a record, which once you get a record, it affects housing, affects jobs, it affects parenting, it affects everything. And we all pay for this in some respect in our county and in a society. So those are critical issues for me. Criminal justice reform.
Well, that's very interesting. How about county revenues? I know that one of the big discussions, particularly with COVID and the way it's reduced state revenues, we have the county property tax, which of course in New Hampshire is the primary means, but are there any other things that the county might think of to increase revenues? Well, you mentioned the diversion program would produce some. Any other thoughts in that area?
Well, it's interesting. When I was researching other counties, I found out that Stratford County actually has a jail industry, which is produces revenue. And what they do is they partner with businesses who provide training and materials, including a soldering certificate, and that provides revenue. And now, frankly, I'd never thought about that, but what better way is there to assure that we're not constantly paying for incarceration? Not only that, but we could introduce revenue into Hillsborough County, thinking outside the box, thinking outside the box with what we have. So that was one issue that came to mind. Another cost-saving methods. One that comes to mind is the labor cost is always the highest cost of any department, as you know. How can we reduce labor cost? I mean, we have to look at, again, thinking outside the box. If you go to the Department of Corrections, for instance, the amount of time that the correctional officers spend transporting attorneys to and from cells to meet with their clients that's cost money. That's hourly rate that we're being paid. So Merrimack County, for instance, they have installed phones in every pod. That's what they're called. They're attorney phones. They're only to be used for attorney, but it significantly cut down on the number of hours that the staff had to use to bring attorneys back and forth constantly all day long. So there are lots of little things that can be added to increase, I think, our revenue or decrease our cost.
How about things like county properties, like the hundreds of acres that Hillsborough County owns in Goffstown, which actually don't, being a little a bit of a homer about it, that doesn't produce any tax revenue for Goffstown. Would you be in favor of something like perhaps getting rid of some of this surplus land?
Well, I can say I don't have enough information to address that, but if I were the county commissioner, of course, that would be something I would be looking at. I mean, land is definitely revenue could potentially, and why is it not being used? And could it be sold for purposes that would increase revenue to the county? So yes, that's definitely something I'd be in favor of. I would have to know more about it. That's my,
But understood, but that's something, because Goffstown, one of the longstanding issues is a lack of developable land in and around the town, and a lot of what Hillsborough County owns is right around the 114, 114A county complex area. Just something that's a particular interest of mine. So any other thoughts you'd like to add, or perhaps again, you mentioned you went to law school for public interest law. What sparked your interest in running for this particular office? I believe that it's a long-term Republican incumbent, so you probably have an uphill battle, but
I'm sure I do, but I've never been afraid of uphill battles. What sparked me for this particular, it's interesting because I really was not familiar. I've lived in Amherst for 35 years. My husband's a retired BAE engineer. We've raised 3 sons here. They're all grown. And I've always had a very busy career and then law school. But when I became a public defender, it was in Merrimack County. So I was very familiar with the Merrimack County Attorney's Office and the Merrimack County Sheriff's and the Merrimack County Department of Corrections. And it was a very good Department of Corrections. I was there before they built the new one in the old decrepit building across from the nursing home. And I thought that that was how all jails were run, how everything, and that's not. And then I transferred to Nashua to the Hillsborough South. And it was a completely different story. And I thought, who is in charge of this? There's always somebody in charge of something. Who is in charge of this? And I researched it and found out that the county commissioners are, along with other areas. And this is an area I felt I would never run for an office I didn't feel qualified, that I didn't feel like I had experience in some aspects of it. And I have the experience here. I have, as I said, I ran a $20 million company, and we went through some pretty bad economic times, like I think we're about to go through here. And I had to make really tough decisions. I had to lay people off. I had to reallocate resources. It was very difficult, but the budget was affected, and we had to look at the good of the entire company to keep it going. So I know that I can do the budgetary part of it. I know how hard it is, and I'm not afraid to speak truth and make suggestions that might not be very popular, but are for the good of the whole. And I think that my insight into how three of the county departments work that they supervise would be very beneficial. I know what questions to ask. When I read the minutes of and they're all doing a fine job. I'm not disparaging anybody. I'm just saying that I have this unique position of having an inside view of what goes on behind the scenes, what goes on behind the monthly reporting or meetings to the county commissioners. And I would have responded differently or asked questions, but if you don't know what questions to ask, you really can't be faulted for that. So I think that that's what, you use the word unique. I think that's what makes me unique, is the combination of a management executive background and an insight into how these places work. I mean, the nursing home, I would have to educate myself on that. But that's what I do. I research and I educate myself. You just mentioned this land issue in Goffstown. That's something I'll be on probably tomorrow. So that's why I'm motivated to run. I don't want to complain about things unless I have tried my best to make them better. And public defender work is individual at a time. I'm ready to be more, approach issues on a more systemic platform. And I think this is a good position to do that with.
Well, thank you very much. In conclusion, if you've got any remarks you'd like to, or a plea for a vote to close out, we'd appreciate that. That's part
Well,
of,
I want to thank you very much for allowing me this opportunity. I hope people will vote for me. I know many people don't have any idea what the bottom of the ballot does. So I hope this has been educational for everybody. And I encourage everybody to get out there and vote, no matter what. I'm very excited by the Democratic participation that I'm seeing in this election. It heartens me, and I have high hopes for the next year. So, and again, I thank you for this opportunity.
well, we all hope the same thing. Thank you very much for being here. Just in conclusion, just for you folks watching out there, you can see these programs as the week goes on here on Goffstown TV. The videos are posted on the video page of our website, which is goffstowndems.com. You can find them by searching for the Goffstown Democrats YouTube channel, or you'll find them posted on our Facebook page, which is www.facebook.com/GoffstownDems. Please like them, please share them widely with your friends, and thank everyone for watching today.